When you can't find a solution to a problem, you create the solution. That's the philosophy of Rym Selmi of MiiRo.co. MiiRo.co is a food company that has created very healthy plant-based chocolates, syrup, just amazing, amazing sweet treats that she needed a solution for her own health and for the health of her children and for the health of all children everywhere and people who enjoy sweet treats. You're in for quite a treat when you listen to my conversation with Rym Selmi of MiiRo.co. So stick around.
Welcome to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, where your host, Kathleen Gage, shines the spotlight on vegan and plant-based businesses and entrepreneurs from all walks of life committed to cruelty-free eating, healthy lifestyles, animal compassion, and the environment. Enjoy the show.
Well, Rym, you have a fascinating business model. You've created a sweets company for those of us who are vegan and we don't want a lot of sugar. We don't want to eat any animal-based products. And we're going to talk about that. But before we do, give us kind of a backstory of how you became vegan and when you became vegan.
Yeah, sure. So I started to follow a plant-based diet about 7 years ago. Initially, it was a dairy-free challenge that I set to myself. Like, I just wanted to try for 2 weeks and see how a dairy-free diet, like if it would be a good fit for me. And the results were great. So I decided to do a 2 weeks plant-based diet or vegan diet. And the results were amazing. So that's how I started.
Well, and when did you officially identify as a vegan? Because I went through a similar thing where I had really bad inflammation. I was 64 at the time, and it was a few years ago. And I was thinking, okay, I probably because of age, it's happening. And as I researched it, I realized if I got rid of meat and dairy, I would get rid of the inflammation. Little did I know what I was going to unearth and discover about the vegan lifestyle, about animal factory farming, about the climate and all that. So I started out plant-based, didn't want to be considered a vegan. 6 months into it, I was like, I'm definitely a vegan. So Rym, when did you make the transformation from a plant-based eater into being a vegan and identifying as a vegan?
So to me, it happened with something that happened in my life. So I was unemployed. I just quitted my job, and it was a very hectic job. So very long hours, relying primarily on sugar, coffee, and I really needed a change in my life. And for me, a change, like I really welcomed the change in the sense that it could come from anything. Like it could come from a haircut or a diet or like anything could do at the time. And really when I tried this dairy-free diet, I felt that it was a first step in this journey to reconcile myself with my body, but also to it was a first step to this change that I desperately craved for. And then really for me, starting to really seriously follow a plant-based diet took me about 3 to 6 months. And it was basically the time I needed to educate myself. And it was a process. There were trials and errors. And then there was how do I manage family reunions? How do I manage celebrations? How do I manage these creamy milk chocolate craving that I cannot have, especially at the time, veganism was not mainstream at all. So it was really, it was the time it took me to do my research and to try to find alternatives.
Well, and you seem to have found a great alternative because you've created a company that I've got to show people. For those of you watching on YouTube, this is one of your products. It's chocolate chips, and it's plant-based. It's totally vegan. And I haven't tried these yet, but I have to tell you, the white chocolate is all gone. Once I started eating this, I just was like in decadent heaven, but knowing that it's plant-based. So I encourage people to go to your website. And what is your web address? Where will people find this information?
So our web address is MiiRo.co, which is MiiRo.co. And basically the name, just in case you're interested, just a little story. The name MiiRo comes from Latin. It means to wander. And it basically describes the idea that when you pause to indulge, it just transports you to another place. So it's just like a reminder to myself to be more present during those little moments of joy, right? Like when you eat chocolate, it's just like a beautiful moment. Generally, you see people's face changing. They are happy. They start to smile. And it was a reminder to myself to be more present when I eat. And in those little moments, like when I'm with people, like I have to put my phone like aside and really enjoy the moment. And that's really like the ethos about around the brand.
I have to tell you, when I had that first bite, because I used to be a chocoholic, I used to be a sugar addict, and once I went plant-based, that all went away. And that first bite, I was like, "Oh, is this going to be good, or is it not going to be good?" And I actually sat there and I went, "Oh, it was." It was the best taste, the best feeling. And so I encourage people, go to your website. It's www.MiiRo.co, and that's MIIRO.co. And we'll put that in the show notes. And I'm curious, you've got beautiful packaging. The taste is amazing, because I have people send me samples of things, and you sent me a beautiful box full of all these delightful treats. And you've really nailed it on the taste. Let's go back to when you decided to start the company. When did you get the idea to start your company? And before you answer that, I want to remind people that you're listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. I'm Kathleen Gage. I'm your host, and I'm talking with Rym Selmi of MiiRo.co. So with that, Rym, how did you get the idea for a wonderful, wonderful, delightful tasting company?
So actually, it was a long time ago. It was when I started my plant-based journey. So because at the time, like I couldn't find ice creams. So I used to live in London, and this is where I started my company initially. So it was almost 7 years ago. And to help me in this plant-based journey, I had to create some alternatives of like my favorite sweet treats. Mm-hmm. And one of the desserts that I absolutely loved was like, chocolate covered ice creams like Magnum. And but there was no vegan Magnum ice creams. So I created something in my kitchen that I used to take with me at every like family reunion or simply like dinner with friends, and then the feedback was all the time, "Oh, by the way, can you bring more of your ice creams?" And every time, like I used to have this feedback by more and more people, and they were very like completely fooled by the fact it was plant-based. They didn't know it was plant-based. I mean, it wasn't a packaged product. It was something I created in my kitchen. And then I found a job. And it was a very like corporate type of job, 9 to 5. I wasn't happy again. And then my family and friends told me, "No, but can't you see you have something here? Mm-hmm. Like you have something that people seem to enjoy. So if you have this need, maybe other people will have the same need." So I put myself to work, and I started to research every single research and development report I could find on ice cream. And then I found a factory that was crazy enough to believe in this project. And we created together the first vegan Magnum style of ice cream in Europe. And it was a massive hit at launch. And it was in the UK. But then I moved to the US for personal reasons. And then with COVID, so I get basically gestational diabetes. And this is where, during my pregnancy, when I moved in the US, I realized that I had to reduce my sugar intake too. So I thought, what am I going to do? And at that time, I had to bring my ice cream to the US. We just decided that, COVID happened then, like a lot of events happened one after the other. COVID happened. I couldn't fly anymore to the UK. So I had to make a decision, and I took the difficult decision to close my business in Europe and to focus on the US. So, and we redesigned totally like our, we call it a collection, our baking chocolate collection, a collection of products. And we made sure it was very low in sugar so that we could indulge like a whole bar of chocolate for less than a teaspoon of sugar.
Well, and what I love is that seriously, when I first got the packaging, I looked at it, it said plant-based, and I thought, okay, that's great because I'm 100% vegan. And I ate some of the white chocolate and I thought, this can't possibly be non-vegan. It can't be. It tastes too good. This is like the best tasting chocolate that I've had. And so I looked on the package and I actually got, because I wear glasses, so I, had to get my glasses and really look carefully to see if there was any animal-based products. There's not. And so I love, again, it's MiiRo.co. Go to the website, go to the Facebook page and test it out. Try it out. You're going to be delighted. And I'm curious with your business model. Now, a lot of us got really impacted by COVID. I don't think anybody escaped that. But what I'm noticing is with a lot of vegan-based businesses, that there's a resurgence of business and we're all doing quite well right now. It's like things are starting to stir up and there's like a trend in the uptake of people that want to go vegan and they may not understand what being vegan is. And that's okay, because any way that we can bring them into the community and have less pain and suffering for the animals, better health, the environment, all of that. What with your business have you found to be some of the best ways to raise awareness around the fact that you're a vegan company, around the fact that you have healthy chocolate, around the fact that this is something that people can indulge in and not feel guilty?
So for us, when we built our community, something that was very important was to encourage baby steps. And we realized pretty quickly that a lot of our customers were not vegan, actually. There were people that were health conscious and they wanted to reduce their meat intake, their fish intake, their animal products or byproducts intake, basically. So for them, like it started initially with coffee, so switching their milk with almond or oat milk. And then they were looking for easy swaps. And MiiRo was very much an answer because when you find a product that is really delicious, you just make the switch very easily. So for us, it really started with our community who wasn't vegan, like 80% of them are not, and that was still wanted to do something for their own health. So it started with this, and also like all our communication, all the articles we publish on our blogs. We do a lot of research. Every single piece of data, we break it down, we simplify it so that it's easily accessible and digestible to others. And we found that actually people were very attracted to our articles that were very simply written, that were more for beginners, and so we really doubled down on that, and we tried to offer a lot of content that wasn't intimidating for people who maybe just ask themselves what is veganism to start with, without even thinking of being vegan one day. And we helped along the way. We answered some questions, some DMs, and then we did a lot of partnerships with influencers and other brands to really put together, push this message of like plant-based veganism can be healthier for you. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. We're not judging, like we don't have to judge. At the end of the day, it is a very personal choice.
Right.
So that's really how we did that, how we support people.
I appreciate that because I know that there are some vegans that if you don't go 100% vegan right away and identify right away, you're not a real vegan. And, I've been vegan now going on 4 years, and I consider myself to be a real vegan, but I've had people that have said, oh, if you talk about plant-based, you're not a real vegan. And I don't agree with that. I think that we need to meet people where they're at. And I really like your philosophy. And in growing a business, where do you see that new entrepreneurs that they want to have a company, maybe a food company, a manufacturing company, maybe it's a clothing company. Where do they even start? What would you, as a somebody who's been in business for a while, you've had some hiccups along the way. You're really getting your stride going. I love the idea that you collaborate with influencers, and I really appreciated that you sent me such a beautiful, beautiful box with just delightful treats in it. What would you say is an area that new entrepreneurs need to focus on to even consider starting a business?
So, like, one thing that I would sincerely advise is to not use social media for market research. When you see a trend on social media about a vegan product and you think of making it a business, be very careful, because you need to ask yourself, is it a trend? So if it's a trend, then it won't last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot really build like a long-term business. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing, I know when you're a startup, you cannot invest in reports, in research. It's very expensive. But I would say try to find some libraries that actually buy this research that you can have access for free, because then you have long-term data that enables you to see what is the trend. So is it like trending up for how long? If it's been it started very slowly, like 10 years ago, but then it starts to be consistent, it's no longer a trend. It's probably here to stay. So that's what I would do. And then there is a third thing, which is what kind of product would you like to put on the market? Is it a Me Too product, which is basically a product that already exists, where you have a ton of competitors and you're not necessarily going to bring something new, but you just want a part of the cake? Or is it something a bit different, where you bring something totally new, you bring your vision to the market, even if the product already exists, it really has a unique feature, something that is so unique, or so like something that like a feature that really improves the product, even if other competitors have similar product, but not this feature. And if it's the case, then it will require probably a bit more of research and development. And that's okay, provided that you are confident with your business idea. So these would be the three tips that I would give.
Excellent. Excellent. And I want to remind people you're listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. I'm Kathleen Gage, your host, and I'm talking with Rym Selmi of MiiRo.co. That's MiiRo.co. Go to MiiRo.co, and you'll be delighted with what you find there. What would you say has been the hardest part about being an entrepreneur in the vegan space?
So in the vegan space, what was very difficult, but I think if we are totally honest, that I took it a bit personally, is the fact that when I started, there was no product. So we found a ton of support from people. And they wanted to just buy from small businesses because they didn't really have the choice. And there was no alternative on the market. But then when bigger brands like blue box companies, like huge ones, started to get really interested in plant-based food or vegan food, they even though like 80 or 90% of their product range was still non-vegan, those people started to support bigger businesses just because they were launching like an exciting vegan, I don't know, I'm not going to name. So this initially really hurt, because we wanted to put something on the market that enabled people to keep indulging despite there was nothing vegan. And we really expected our community to support us. A lot did, but we've also found that a lot were really, and we're not blaming anyone, but a lot of people were really interested in finding the least expensive product. Right. Of course, when you buy your ingredients at our scale compared to huge companies that by, I don't know, 100 times the same amount, they will benefit from different prices. So the final price will be different for the consumer. So, like this, like when we saw this, we were a bit disappointed, because we built our community on the fact that we were super innovative. We would find like flavors, like stuff that were very different. So we took it a bit personally, and it was very hard initially, until we start to readjusting our mindset, and we realized that at the end of the day, like what some people are doing, finding the right price, I mean the lowest price, and even if they wanted to compromise on product quality and this kind of thing, was absolutely fine if it worked for them. But so what we did, we really like focused even more on people that started that kept supporting us in providing like a service that was amazing. Like up to now, I still answer myself to most of our customer service emails or chats, or because it's so important to be close to our customers. So this was very difficult for us to process. Just like, because So I would say this would be one of the things. So the second one is, when you see a lot of competitors coming in, it can be very tricky. It can be scary, but then you have to stop looking left or right and just focus on how unique is your product, and how good it is, and how you can even improve it. It has to be a work in progress.
Well, and it's interesting, because I think that true vegans really want to support vegan-run businesses, where people who are not yet of the mindset of what it means to be a vegan, that it's a philosophy and it's a way of life, that they don't understand the value and the gift that you're giving them by being 100% vegan company. So on the flip side, what has been one of the greatest joys of being an entrepreneur?
I would say it's just like my personality, that, for me, it's very difficult to do stuff because of the label. So because it looks good, there is a label attached to it. Like if you go to a meeting that you feel doesn't bring any value, just because it will make your boss happy, then I struggled with those kind of things when I was in a corporate environment, because I'm all about like customers' value, what kind of value we can bring to the customers, what next step, what next move we can do, and like the strategy, the brand identity and everything. So I leave no room for stuff that are politically correct, because I don't have time to, and that's the way I built my company. So we don't, even if we have, for example, with some people, like some of my employees, weekly meetings, if they email me and they're like, Rym, I have nothing to talk about for this week because I'm still on this project and I have no update, we're not going to catch up for the sake of catching up. That's absolutely fine. And I will just ask, okay, so how are you doing? Like personally, like, are you okay? Like either do you have any challenge? But that's it. Like we try to create a culture where we don't do stuff because it's politically correct, because it looks good in front of your boss and the whole audience.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Rym, this has been delightful. And I want to remind people that you have been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. And I've been talking with Rym Selmi of MiiRo.co. That's MiiRo.co. And I encourage you, go visit the website, buy some of the products. They're delightful. And again, I want to show you what they look like. These are so tasty, and I'm savoring every bite that I take. So in closing, what are your final thoughts for people?
I would say I would bring it back to the name MiiRo, just like being like, I think that I've been looking for a definition of happiness for the past few years. And I think I arrived to the conclusion that happiness is about being mindful, is all about mindfulness. So if I know it has nothing to do with this podcast, but it's a very big lesson for me that I would like to share, that happiness is just like, is now actually, and is about being mindful and doing one thing at a time. Yeah.
Well, and I like that you said that, because I have a morning process that I go through where I do yoga for about 45 minutes. I do meditation, I do breathing, I do grounding, I do journaling. I read something inspirational, because it really helps me to be present. And I believe when we're present in the moment, we can savor those moments where we have something so amazing put in front of us, and we can really treasure that. And the ordinary can become extraordinary. And Rym, it has been delightful. Thank you so much. I wish you the very best, and we will make sure to put all your contact information in the show notes. And thank you for what you're doing for the animals, for the planet, and for people's health. This is Kathleen Gage with Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, wishing you a great day, a great evening, a great middle of the night, whenever you are catching this show.
You've been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when the next episode is live. And we always appreciate reviews. Join us next time for more inspiration, education, and motivation to build your business one cruelty-free and healthy person at a time.